Mill posted my pregnancy announcement on Facebook before I could. She said, everyone was so excited. So I announced that we were having twins just to mess with her. She was overwhelmed by the flood of calls. My name's Alice. I'm married to a really sweet guy, James. We've been together for almost 4 years now, and we're both in our early 30s, living in a small, quiet town in Kentucky. You know, the kind of place where everybody seems to know everybody else's business. It's peaceful, a little too peaceful sometimes, if I'm being honest. Now, his family, mostly great people. They're big on family dinners, holidays, and the whole family first idea. But his mom, Sandra, is a lot. She's one of those people who thinks she needs to know everything about everyone's lives, and somehow, she always finds a way to involve herself in everything. She's always been a bit nosy and overbearing, but usually, I can handle it. I knew what I was getting into when I married into the family, after all. But then, something happened that completely crossed the line for me. I'd found out I was pregnant. I was thrilled. James was thrilled. This was something we'd wanted for a while, and we couldn't have been happier. It was all still so new, though, and I wasn't ready for everyone to know. I wanted to enjoy this just between the two of us for a bit longer, maybe start telling close family in a few weeks. So, I talked it over with James, and we agreed to tell his mom at a small family dinner on Sunday, just his parents, his brother, and us. I thought a quiet announcement would be best. When we told Sandra that I was expecting, her reaction was a lot, just like I expected. She clapped her hands, teared up, hugged both of us, and started talking a mile a minute about how she'd always wanted to be a grandma. She was gushing over names, nurseries, asking if I needed baby clothes yet. It was over the top but still sweet, and I thought it was fine. She was excited, and we were too, so I just smiled and let her talk. Before we left her house that night, I sat her down and said, as clearly as possible, Sandra, we're waiting to tell people for a while. This is something we want to announce ourselves when we're ready. Please, don't say anything yet. She patted my hand, looked me right in the eyes, and said, of course, honey. This is your news. I wouldn't dream of stealing your thunder. You tell people when you're ready. I should have known better. I should have seen it coming, but I wanted to trust her. The very next morning, my phone buzzed with a message from my best friend, Kara, who lives up in Cincinnati. It was just a screenshot, no other text, and as soon as I saw it, my stomach sank. There, right at the top of Sandra's Facebook page, was a giant post that said, so thrilled to announce I'm going to be a grandma. Can't wait to meet my sweet little baby. In all caps. Not only did she spill the news, but she blasted it out in the most obnoxious way possible. And she tagged both James and me in the post. Hundreds of people were seeing this. Hundreds of her friends, people from our town, people I didn't even know. This was not how I wanted my family to find out about my pregnancy. To top it off, she'd posted a picture she'd sneakily taken of James and me at dinner, holding hands across the table, looking happy and clueless. I had no idea she'd taken it. It was invasive, embarrassing, and honestly, it made me feel sick. I saw the comments start rolling in under her post, all her friends and random people saying, congratulations. And so happy for you. There was no going back from this. Everyone knew. I called her immediately. I was fuming, but I tried to keep calm. Sandra, I said, trying not to scream, you posted about my pregnancy? Oh, honey, she laughed nervously. Yes. I couldn't help myself. Everyone was so excited. People are just thrilled for you. Isn't that nice? I was stunned. We specifically asked you not to say anything. This was our news to share. Oh, come on, Alice, she said, brushing it off. I just got caught up in the excitement. And think of it this way, it's out there now, and everyone's happy for you. That's what matters, right? I couldn't believe she thought this was no big deal. I had told her explicitly not to say anything, and she went and did it anyway. I could feel my hands shaking with anger, but I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing how much she'd gotten under my skin. If she wanted to play the game her way, fine. But I had a plan of my own. Without missing a beat, I said, you're right, Sandra. Everyone should be excited. And actually, since you're so thrilled, I might as well let you in on a little secret. Oh? She asked, clearly intrigued. She loves secrets, knowing them, sharing them, anything that makes her feel like she's in the center of things. I took a breath and said as casually as possible, we're having twins. Dead silence. I could almost hear her brain whirring on the other end of the line. Twins? She finally managed to squeal, her voice going up an octave. Are you serious? Yep, I said, feeling a surge of satisfaction. We found out at the last appointment. We were keeping it under wraps for now, but since you already announced the pregnancy, I figured. Why not? Oh my gosh. She practically screamed. This is huge. Twins. My friends are going to lose their minds. Oh, I bet they will, I replied sweetly. Go ahead and update your post. I'm sure they'll all be thrilled. Within minutes, she had edited her post, adding in big, bold letters that we were expecting not one, but two babies. She was positively giddy, calling all her friends, posting updates, telling everyone who would listen. And sure enough, her phone blew up even more. She started getting messages, calls, comments from friends and family members who were thrilled about the twins. James's phone started blowing up too. His aunt from Chicago called, cousins from Nashville texted, people I hadn't heard from in years were messaging me, congratulating me on my miracle twins. It was ridiculous. But the best part? Sandra was overwhelmed. She hadn't thought this through at all. She was getting so many calls, so many messages, that she didn't know what to do. She was trying to answer everyone, respond to every comment, thank everyone for their support. It got to the point where she was getting calls at all hours, and people started sending her links to twin-related baby products, asking if she needed extra help. A couple of her friends even offered to come down to Kentucky and help her with the babies. I just sat back and watched it all happen, sipping my tea and smiling. Sandra called me a few days later, sounding tired, like she'd been through a battle. Alice, honey, it's been nonstop here. The whole world is excited about these twins, and I can't keep up. Are you sure it's twins? Maybe we should. I don't know, clarify things a little? Oh, Sandra, I said, feigning concern, you made the announcement, and everyone's already so excited. I don't want to disappoint anyone. After all, it was your big reveal. I think it's best to just let everyone keep thinking it's twins. At least for now. Sandra was clearly frazzled. The non-stop calls, messages, and excitement from her friends were wearing her down. Every time we spoke, she sounded more exhausted. I kept letting the twin story roll on, watching as she got further tangled in the web she'd created. She was fielding questions like, will you be moving in with them to help with the babies? And have you started knitting blankets for both babies? People sent her links to double strollers, twin cribs, and parenting classes for grandparents. Sandra was so overwhelmed that I barely even heard from her for a week straight, which was blissful silence for me. The fun didn't stop there, though. One day, she called me with a bit of panic in her voice. Alice, honey, do you know what happens if people send gifts? I think a few people are already planning on sending things for the twins. They're asking for the baby registry. Oh, wow. Twins are a big deal. I replied, making sure I sounded just as overwhelmed as she did. It sounds like you'll have a lot of thank you notes to write, she stammered a bit, and I could practically hear her sweat through the phone. She was the one who'd made the announcement and hyped up the twins' news to everyone. Now, she was starting to realize just how much work it was to keep up. Another week or two passed, and Sandra had reached her breaking point. I got a call from her late one evening. She sounded completely drained, with her voice barely above a whisper. Alice. I'm going to tell everyone the truth. I can't keep up with this twin thing. I didn't mean for it to get so big, and I'm so sorry. I thought people would be happy. Oh, Sandra, you did make everyone happy, I said, keeping my voice sugary sweet. But maybe next time you could wait to share news that's really for us to share? I let that sit for a second before adding, now that people are so invested, they might be a bit disappointed, but I'm sure you can explain it to them. She was silent. I could tell she was realizing how deep she'd dug herself. She mumbled, yes. I'll tell everyone. I'll explain. The next day, I watched as Sandra posted her new announcement, backpedaling and saying that after a misunderstanding, there was actually just one baby on the way. She tried to play it off like she'd misunderstood what we'd told her, but her friends and family weren't having it. The comments were full of confused friends saying things like, how could you not know? And I thought you said it was twins. One person even commented, looks like grandma's just a bit too excited, huh? The embarrassment must have been unbearable. People started calling her out, questioning why she'd even made the announcement in the first place. Her friends were poking fun at her, saying things like, better get your facts straight next time. And maybe let the parents make the announcements, Sandra. She tried to respond, defending herself and saying she'd only been excited, but people weren't letting her off that easy. And the best part? After that, she never posted about our pregnancy again. Not a single photo, not a single update. She'd learned her lesson, and she kept her distance, knowing she'd crossed a line. I finally had peace, and James and I got to announce the rest of our baby news our way, on our timeline. Sandra got her taste of what happens when you steal someone else's moment, and trust me, I'm sure she'll never forget it.